Foundations in the art department, and what I'm going to talk today about is using blogs for student retention and also for students to talk about. I'll just talk about how I'm using them. I'm terribly nervous today. I'm suffering from imposter syndrome, so I know that I feel like at any moment you guys are going to call me out as a fraud. And that goes along with how this all started. When I had my interview for my job, I was asked during the interview, do you have your art students write? And I said, no. Because my experience as an art student, especially at foundations level, was not writing at all. It was jump through the hoops that the professor told me to jump through, and then I would do well and move on from there. And so I walked away from that interview thinking I had blown it, and thinking more intently about why don't I have students write, and how could I go about doing this. This is kind of the end result of what my students do and what I ask for from them. It is, and what? Oh, sorry. And this is after many iterations of the project. It first started out with a simple exercise that was handwritten for every project. Just simply write down something that you learned in this assignment. And I got a wide range of responses, and they were not really well thought out because my question really wasn't well thought out. And so I had some interesting things happen. I had students talk about how they felt about the project, and their feelings really, I think, were something I wasn't valuing the feelings about what the project was at all. I was just putting a project out there and having them execute it and grading it, etc. But I think the feelings about their own work are kind of important. So I also have here reasons for compositional decisions and personal assessment, works cited, informative exercises with a narrative. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. These are the things that I found useful about this process. And when I'm done with this, I'm going to show you some examples of student blogs so that you can see what I'm talking about. One is that because it's less formal, I don't have them writing on paper, I just have them quickly blogging something out. I get a lot of immediate feedback and open communication. I know right away whether or not they understood what I was talking about because they're forced to write about it. I get self-assessment. Oftentimes when students are writing, and I don't even ask for this, I think I did well on the project, but my craftsmanship was poor. And this is good because sometimes I feel like they don't know these things, but they're actually much more aware of their shortcomings than I would imagine. I feel like I get increased retention of information. And one of the ways I know this is because I had a student who was not writing their blogs, and at the end of the semester she begged me. She said, can I just write them out, please, at the end and get a little bit of credit for them? So I said, sure. And the blogs were, I don't remember what we did, we were doing this, that was what they were. And it reminded me of my own experience reflecting upon my undergraduate course in art, especially the first phases of it, where I think back on that and I remember little bits of it, but not any narrative of what I learned, not a really good, clear understanding of those things. Or I have the knowledge, but I don't know where I picked it up or if I got it in the class, etc. I think they get from this also a really great sense of accomplishment. At the end of the semester, they have a blog for every assignment that they did. They look back on it, and they feel proud of it. Most students, anyway, feel proud about it. I think it is an expression of community they can share with one another. Oftentimes, I'll have students tell me that they've shared it with their mom or their little sister or something. And this also gives them an opportunity to teach, and we all know that we learn probably the best by teaching. I think it also creates an incentive to do well because they know that they have something that they're going to share with other people, that it doesn't just stay within the confines of the classroom. They know that it's likely that they're going to show a friend at some point on their phone or wherever it is. It also works as a preparation for presentations in class and critique. So they've already written about it oftentimes, and then when we go to critique it, they know the terminology, they know what they think about it before they begin speaking. It also works as an example for other students. I'll pull up a student blog instead of me just talking about a project, and they'll see how did this other student solve the problem, not just an end result of what I'm looking for. And finally, on why it's useful, adjunct faculty support. I have adjuncts that I work with, and I could show them student blogs of, well, this is how I've taught this class, and you can do it this way or not, but here's a step-by-step, and from the student perspective as well as my own. So for me, what's next on what I'm planning on doing is more video content, because we can do this. I've had one student do this so far, and a lot of these things that I'm talking about are student-driven. I see like little hints of it. Maybe one student goes above and beyond, and like, for instance, this instructional peer-to-peer video that I'm thinking of. I had a student do an instructional video on their blog, and of course, this makes me think that I could add it to a possible assignment. Right? They're driving the process just as much, if not more, than I am. I want to find ways to encourage peer-to-peer sharing and interaction, maybe create a portfolio hub where they can come in and then make easier comments on each other. I think, and I haven't talked to my department members about this, but some of them are here. It would be a good way to review a program to make sure that, okay, it is satisfying the needs of what we want to have done in our foundations program. We can tell by looking at the quality of the student work, what exercises they're going through, so that they can assess whether or not it's useful, that it leads into their classes, etc. Also, the other side, if this is done, of course, in an appropriate way, in terms of looking at other people's work. So if I have an adjunct that I'm working with who requires portfolio or a blog portfolio, I could look at their work and I could give them help, I could support them, and give them suggestions based not only upon my interaction with them, but looking at the quality of their student work. Maybe there's something missing that's glaring to me that they might not be able to see. Of course, this would have to be done in a way that was most judicious and kind and in the right legal spirit. Blake Johnson's here, he does a portfolio class, and I think this is something that would lead into that, because students are already thinking about writing about their work, showing their work, etc. I just started something this last week with peer-to-peer advice. I asked them, in your blog, at the end of your blog, give me a short blurb on if you could give yourself advice or another person advice about this project after you've done it, what would you say to them? Because that information is useful to me. I want to compile it and use it as advice to give to the students. Again, they can direct some of the learning. And then one other thing is, student instructor advice. So I asked them to do the same thing for me. If there's a way that I could improve this assignment other than making it really easy and quick, what could we do? And then lastly, maybe using blogs as a recruitment tool. If I have a dynamite blog, I can have a student who's coming in to the university, maybe on one of the Cardinal Days or something, or open house, and I can show them a student blog. This is what you could expect to do. This is the good quality work our students are making.